Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, how you doing?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, we're fully in fall now, it feels.
Yeah. Well, what's today's date? I don't even know.
14. So I think
Okay.
it's technically next week will be the first day, but
Yeah. The seasons and the planet they don't really abide by
right.
the numbers we put up. Isn't that kind of funny how we're like, no. Summer ends here, fall starts here, and then right now we might have a couple of very fall-ish days, and
Yeah,
then in mid-October we might have like a 90-degree day, some crazy day.
right.
Us humans and our crazy things that we say are happening. Well, cool. As we go into the fall, how does your focus change on anything? I mean, of course, we're going to do the state championships, and that'll be kind of like the big conclusion to our weightlifting year, and we'll of course keep training and stuff. But for you as an athlete, and maybe even as a coach, what changes with the changing of the season? Anything?
Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on what comes up. Um, I think it does kind of, for us, kind of symbolize like a break a little bit. Um, just because of like, also, I feel like the difference in seasons is a little bit more drastic than spring to summer. Um, so it feels like coaching wise, it's also a little bit different. The type of workouts that come up, the athletes that are in certain classes. I think the seasons kind of dictate that as well. And then from a training aspect, it is kind of like a take a couple months to like recover and build and kind of set a plan for the next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of see it as like a rebuilding time.
Yeah, it definitely does feel like more of a reset or a fresh start than the other seasons. Beginning of the year is of course crazy if we think about like that first quarter.
Right.
It's crazy in an exciting way. Like, all right, yeah, I'm so happy to read every day and do this every day and all the things that you said that you were going to do and try to build into your lifestyle. But then going from, you're right, that first part into the second part where it's April, uh, April, May, and June. It's it's just kind of like, oh, there's like a lull there.
Yeah.
Like there's different things we're doing. Okay, it's the snow is going away. It might be getting warmer, and then as we go into the summer, that's like, okay, it could either be really chill or it could be absolutely as crazy as you want it to be. And then now it seems like we're going into a calmer time again where things
Yeah.
like we're wrapping up storylines, so to say, that we set at the beginning of the year. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's definitely cool. Oh, and it is funny the faces in the gym based on the season. Like okay, people's life is very very busy at the beginning of the year. They start to come in less, but then things calm down. They start to come in more during April, May, and June. But then the summer, everyone's away on vacation. Everyone wants to be outside. And now we might see someone that we haven't seen since April. Be like, where have you been? And they've only popped in like here and there. And now all of a sudden they're in class all the time.
Yeah. I definitely have people ask me like usually around the beginning of the calendar year of like, oh, is the gym more busy now? Is it this and that? And I don't know if that's necessarily our season for like that type of boom. But I do feel like it sometimes happens more around this time, that
Yeah.
transition from I think people just realizing like, oh, maybe I'll have to do more workouts inside. Like maybe I have to transition from like just running or just doing this to like getting settled with doing workouts inside for the fall and winter.
Yeah. And I feel like we got really, really lucky in the spring and winter or spring and summer this year on getting rained out when we're trying to go outside. It just
Mm,
I don't know. It didn't seem like it happened that often. So I
right.
do feel like we got really, really lucky. But now we are going to be going into a season where it's going to get dark earlier. So, okay, we may not program running because that doesn't really work for the 6:30 a.m. class or the late afternoon classes, because it just starts to become a safety issue. Cars in the parking lot,
Yeah.
people not paying attention, or going out into the main roads. Or we might have days where we want to do that, like on a Saturday or Sunday, but then it's just frigid cold and rainy and icy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's where, as coaches, we got to have backup plans, right? We got to have a way that we can make this workout, whatever it might be, work. You had a great workout today, 5K row, and then a 1 mile weighted carry, right? That was the workout? So you had nice weather to do that today. But if we got deeper into fall and it's a Sunday and all of a sudden, let's say we're mid-November and it was looking good, we were going to be able to do it. And then all of a sudden it's sleeting rain. Well, what do we do now? We have to carry this thing for a mile, you know?
Yeah.
So we have coaches, as coaches, have to like kind of like change our focus on that part a little bit. Whereas in the summer and the spring, I wouldn't have my guard up as much for that situation as we do going into like December, and we're still going to maybe try to program a run, but there is a high likelihood that anything could happen now. That make like, because even if it's in the spring, oh, it's a little light drizzle, we can still go out there. But there's going to be days in the fall and the winter where it's absolutely not going to happen. What do you think you would have done if all of a sudden today it was like just downpouring and we had that 1 mile? Like, it's not like you can do, I mean, you can, but that's a lot of distance to cover. We can make it happen in the building, but
Yeah.
Did you have a plan?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a few in the winter or like a late fall where something like that has happened, and I kind of know the distance is the long way in the triple. But again, yeah, that's a lot of back and forth if you're going like a whole mile. But yeah, I was even thinking like, what is a cardio element that'll still like use your arms? And I was thinking like ski erg would be a good thing to throw in today to
1
kind of
mile
like
ski
get that
after
same.
a 5K row. Holy crap.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to get the same like stimulus as like a bear hug on the arms. So I was thinking something like that, or it would be tough to go from like rowing and then like, all right, now hop on a bike. But yeah, I kind of thought of things depending on weather today. So we ended up doing the whole thing outside, but I was also prepared for like, oh, if it's a little bit colder out and people want to do it inside, like what would I do? And I thought because of the instance where you might put the weight down, that a kind of like shuttle run scenario would work today. We did do the 100-meter back and forth. So people did it more like shuttle run style anyway. But yeah, it would have been interesting
Yeah.
to figure out.
And that's with a 1 mile weighted carry, 75-pound ballistic block for guys, 45-pound plate, I think, for women.
Yeah.
That would have been, so of course, you had a smaller class, so you can use the big, the long end of the room, long ways. But then all of a sudden, if you have a 12-person class, everyone wanted to hit this workout. Now you got to go back and forth hallway to the Kool-Aid Man wall, and that's a lot more trips. That's a lot more transitions. That it does change it. So it's almost like in that situation, maybe you almost reduce the distance, to like, so there's a lot of things you can do. Like you can reduce the distance because it's not the same anymore. Having to literally stop and turn around or in a big group, or they're going to put it down, I feel like, more often just because the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
You could also be like, hey guys, this is the let's say this is November, it starts snowing. This is the situation today, but we're gonna do the best we can, because remember, it's not the open. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I think it's important that we tell, or at least from time to time relay to athletes, like, hey, we got to change it today. That's fine. Like we're still going to get a good workout. I know, like there shouldn't be a thing where like, oh, I didn't walk the exact mile with that thing. And it doesn't count for anything other than we're here doing the work. And improving our health and fitness. So you could have easily been like, let's say you got a big class. You tell everyone, hey, this is X amount of meters across the room if you want to keep it meters. Down, so you go down, that's 10 meters. You go back, that's another 10 meters. When you get off your rower, you're going to look at the clock and then you're going to carry for 8 minutes, or however long you had determined that weighted carry should take. You could do that. I don't know. Did they say in the lesson plan how long, like that part they wanted to have happen?
Well, it was different overall in CAP. It was a partner workout. So.
Oh, it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Did we do a partner workout? Did that program that way?
I had it structured in a way, but they did it weird because they didn't say explicitly whether or not the row was with a partner. I think the time would have been the same anyway, because 5K, that's like 20 something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I switched it that way. So then I did have everyone do 800 meters today, just because that part they were like, yeah, switch with a partner. So yeah, it was a little bit different.
And that's, let's say if it wasn't, like I had in my head, I must have typed that wrong, or even read it wrong. But let's say that could be an option too. All right, it was an individual workout, and you're like, hey, you're going to go for 8 minutes with a partner, max distance between the two of you. You're gonna, if James finishes the 5K early, rest until your partner is done, and then you guys go off on it. Or you could be like, hey, you can move on to the ballistic block and start banking distance for your team, or something like that. So there's a lot of options. You could even use the room differently. Instead of just having it black and white, like forward and back, one direction to the other, you can go around the perimeter of the room, and that all of a sudden adds a lot more distance. It's like, let's say it's more than this in total, but walkable space is 50 feet. So you have cones on the end zones. So every time you go the long ways, that's 50 feet. So if you do that down and back over here, that's 100. And then let's say if the ends are 25, we'll just say, then that's 150 feet every time you make a lap. And you have to do it this many times, or you're going to do it as many times as you want. You could even start in the triple. Let's say if you start by the where the ski rig is now in the entranceway that leads into the hallway, go down towards the TV, cut across, cut all the way down to the garage door, cut across the door side towards the hallway, come back to the first biggest entrance, cross the hallway, go into the double, and now all of a sudden you have all this extra walking space. If it's on a Sunday and the gym is not that busy, or for me, when I have had to do that, it's 3:30 in the afternoon on a Thursday. There's not many people there. I can take out that rolling stick and just map all that out. And I'm like, hey, that's 500 feet. So that's what we're going to do. And I've done that before. I've had people go all around. We can maximize our space in so many awesome ways. You can even take it down the hallway.
Right.
I haven't done it in a very long time, and I wouldn't do it again these days. But way back in the day, I have had people run a mile in the gym, going around the perimeter of the double, up the stairs, down the hallway, through the glass doors, down the other staircase, then back down through the bottom hallway into either the double or back into the triple. And I think whatever I had mapped out, you had to do that 11 times to get a mile. And this was on like a day where we were doing several miles. It was 8:30 at night, and it started to pouring rain, and none of them wanted to row. And I was like, well, let's run. So I had measured that in advance. And I'm like, if you do want to run, your rower will be in the middle of the triple. That way people are running around you, and I had cones everywhere. If you want to run, let's do this thing. And most of them wanted to run because it was something so unique and new and exciting. And they're like, oh, I'm going to run through the building? Oh, I've never done that before. So even people that probably would have maybe not wanted to run, they're like, well, let me try this experiment now. And also I think there was some like, well, he put so much work into this. We have to do it now kind of a deal.
Yeah.
But that was, it worked out.
In track practice in the winter for indoor track, we would run inside, and even early for outdoor when it was still spring and like the weather could be unpredictable. It was the same thing. It was you're running the hallways. They were like lettered. So like you run down A hall, then take a right at B, and like you're going down. So yeah, I mean, you got to use what you have.
And there's something very romantic about that, in a sense of like, that's the scene you see in the movie where they're they're in hard training and the music's playing and they're grinding it out in the hallways, and it's slippery and it's dark and they're bumping into the teacher of all the papers and stuff like that. And the other team is maybe not doing work this hard. They're going up and down the stairs, and the other team's on the track, but this school doesn't have track. Like, it's just it's fun to live that a little bit.
Yeah.
Have that experience, because not many people have. And as coaches, we can always give people a unique experience. Especially our space, we have such an abundance of space and equipment. We can do so many cool things, and that's why it was cool to see the guest coaches come in during the CrossFit games to see how they use the space. It's like, yeah, we can fit 60 people and rowers and barbells and other stuff in here. Is it perfect? No, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's good for people to experience, like, let's say, like those waterfall workouts where it's like, yeah, you're going to be in a line of 8 people. When you get to the rower, you better start working, instead of just being on your own island.
Yeah.
I think we are, as a group and as a gym, getting further and further away from the stations mentality on like, this is my box, and I have everything I need, which is good. We need to distance ourselves as much as possible from that, that we can. And that's where maybe as coaches, we get creative, just partnering people up. All right, use one barbell, do this, during a strength piece. I do remember, I don't know if you were definitely a member of the gym. I don't know if you took any of these classes. Remember before we had assault bikes? Remember that period?
I don't know. I don't think that was me.
Okay. All right. So so you joined in what, 2017?
Yeah.
And I think the 2017 or 2018 games is when we got the bikes, like when they came to town, or at least the early ones. So just before that, I had always been like, man, we can never bike. And this is when we were following CrossFit.com. And every once in a while, CrossFit.com would put up a bike workout. And one time when they did, I was like, you know what? Let's do something cool, because it's a unique thing. Instead of just programming a row, let's take classes down to the spin room and we'll bike on those. So again, is it perfect? No, it's not the Airdyne bike, and we're not going outside. And I do think that I got the conversation started a little bit on like, well, maybe we should get these new assault bikes, so we don't have to use the spin bikes. But then I had to learn about the spin bike, and it also was kind of like, hey, let's go on a field trip to the other side of the building and see what's down there. And hey, we do have spin classes, because that's when we did have spin classes. You can take one of these. It's a fun thing to do on a Saturday. Try and learn new sports. So I took classes down there, and we did the whole class on the bikes, and it was just a unique experience. And then we got the assault bikes shortly after that. But that was around the time where I was taking classes as well down to the rock climbing wall. Like, hey, for the warm up, we're doing Cindy, so this is part of our pull up warm up. But we're just going to boulder around the edges a little bit and work our grip and get in different positions and try something new. Because I was doing it a lot as well for that's how I would warm up for my weightlifting practice. I would go down to the rock wall and climb up as I was comfortable climbing, just to get my grip and everything going, like shoulders, everything. It's really good for you. So you got to break the mold every now and then and do something fun, do something different.
Right.
You can do any of that stuff. You can take your class anywhere in that building. Trying to think of what we could do now, because we're so spoiled with even more equipment. But
well, I was even thinking we still have the one air runner, right? Because that's completely. That would be like a shot, and even do that almost like relay style, where one person goes through however many meters and then switch off with another person.
Yeah. You just take a whole class down there, and let's say if you have 5 people, all right, 4 of you are on the regular treadmills, 1 of you's on the assault runner, and then rotate every X minutes. And then at the end, do a little debrief. How did that treadmill feel from the other ones? Because when people think of a treadmill, they think of the regular ones, and then they're like, "Whoa, that was completely different." Just so even just exposing them to that, and you might inspire someone to come in regularly on a day that they normally don't, and maybe they can't hit class, and they're like, I'll run on that, especially during times where you can't run outside. The ski erg would have been a thing like that too. Like, hey, let's all go down there and try the ski erg. So yeah, it's cool to think outside the box, even like almost doing things like game style, where like I did that not too long ago, where you have your dots and you advance the barbell every now and then. That's stuff that you can do that's really cool with a small group, where you're like, hey, no one showed up today. They're missing out because we're going to do something extra cool today. Like I'm gonna almost reward you for coming to class.
Right.
You get to have such a unique experience because there's only 3 of you, and everyone else that blew off this workout today because I had burpees and snatches, that's tough on them. And then I'm gonna take videos and photograph it and put it out there. And they're like, what? They got to advance their bar and do cool stuff like around the games. Look, yep, we did, because they came to class. Could we do that if I had 12 people? Probably not. But or in a different way. Have you thought about trying something like that, where maybe it is an open workout or a games workout, or maybe you kind of like mold a workout into kind of that format of like, okay, you're going to actually set up 3 rowers, or you have them set up in advance, and you're going to do this part here and this part there. Like, have you thought about doing any stuff like that?
Yeah, I've definitely done advancing the barbell. Yeah, I've thought about doing. It has to be like the right type of format, but like even like what they do of like advancing the placard to like let you know, like if you were to like set down cones and then like, all right, once you're done with these 10, move this cone, stack it on top of the other ones and stuff like that. I've definitely done advancing the barbell though, but yeah, wouldn't like to try some of the other ones.
And we have the little whiteboards. You could write numbers on there too, and like kind of have the course set up a little bit. It's a cool thing to do, especially if you have like a class that's not, like packed all the time. It's hard to do that during prime time, but you could, it also maximizes the room in a sneaky way to make it not feel so cavernous and so empty. Where like if you have 2 people, but they're literally using the whole room, it makes it feel busier and more packed than it actually is. It's an interesting phenomenon, versus like, okay, here we are, we're in our corners and that's it. And there's all this open space.
Right.
During Cindy on Friday, I only had 3 people, and 2 of them were going to work out right here side by side. Another person's like, well, I want to work out all the way over there by that pull-up bar. And I'm like, you're going to go all the way into that corner and like leave the rest of the class essentially? And I'm like, no, that's crazy. So we all moved down towards them. I'm like, I'm bringing everyone to you. And I was listening to an interview with James Hobart recently, and he said something that I thought was interesting, where no matter if there's only one other person in class, he's going to work out as uncomfortably close to that person as possible. He'll just gravitate towards them because it's different the way you feed off the energy of the other people in the room. And if you're on one end and I'm on the other end, there's no energy there. There's not even a chance that I could push using you as that thing to push against. What do you think about that?
Yeah. It's a different feeling. It's even during the games, those like 2 weeks where things were busy. I mean, and of course, some people used up too much of the space, I would say. But when you're in the double or even the triple, like the 5:15 class would be going on, and some games athletes would be on like the other end doing something. It feels different when you're like, oh, we're all doing something. And yeah, even in the triple, if you're able to like really I really like having just enough space. So like the other week on a Saturday, it was bar facing burpees. And yeah, like that gets tight because the way that you have to orient everything, if there's two lines going, you kind of have to stagger barbells and everything. But when you feel like, oh, this just works out perfectly so that my feet aren't touching their feet if we go opposite, like it feels very much like a little bit more intense too.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, to think about the intensity of if we're on opposite ends of the room, we might as well be in different rooms,
Right.
and then you're just going with your own intensity. But like, if we're right next to each other and it's like, oh man, he's moving on to the pull-up bar, and I'm still on the burpees, and like it pushes you in a different way, and it also like this whole thing, big class, small class, it. Let's say if the class is bigger and the workout says bar facing burpees, to not lay your sword down and kind of cop out and be like, hey, there's too many of you. We're going to go to lateral burpees. And lateral burpee is definitely the more popular of the burpee over the bar. People just love to do that one for some reason. I guess, all right, side topic. I guess it's easier. I don't know. It's easier for some, I guess, but sideways jumping is hard too. I think you can get in a better rhythm. I can certainly do lateral burpees way faster than I could a bar facing burpee, just because I'm going to be X amount of space away from the bar. I'm going to have to take an extra step. It's just going to take longer. But the lateral burpee, I can be super close to it and just go over it. And I'm talking about back in the day when like everyone wasn't trying to be half an inch over the bar, like staying super crouched out. We did used to stand up. So it's, I don't know, it's easier, but harder too, because you're going faster. But I think people have a perception of it being easier, even though you still watch them. You're still not going fast on these burpees. So the reason that you want to do it is not what you're actually doing. So I don't know. What do you think about this whole lateral burpee, forward facing burpee thing? Side topic.
I don't even know the last time I did a lateral burpee over a bar. For me, it's definitely not more comfortable. I even remember, I think the last time I even did like a lateral jump was when me and Shop did that like online competition.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were like 30-inch box jumps, but you could jump off. And in that case, like lateral is going to be faster. You can just go side to side, but that like, it takes way too much out of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I never really liked jumping laterally. For me, bar facing, just because I can find an easy rhythm with the turn, like mid jump, I prefer that. But yeah, lateral to me, I don't know if it would be, obviously I think it would be faster, but I wouldn't feel as fast. I think part of that turn also makes you feel like you're kind of moving a little bit faster.
Yeah. You're not slowing down because it feels like you're always moving.
Yeah.
So even if your pace does slow down, you feel productive. I'm doing something. Yeah. So yeah, I think, it's figuring out ways to use the space now. Maybe the only thing that changes is if we all of a sudden have 13, 15, 20 people come to class and it's bar facing burpees and we have all these body lengths. The main thing that changes is we cannot orient the bar the way we always do, the way we want to. So maybe we do have to do some kind of shuffling. Everyone gets in the rows and like, all right, you two shuffle, you move around.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just have the bars all in the rows, but then everyone slants them, and now we have these like lanes that are like angled, and now no one's really lined up that way. It just, and then now it's on the athletes like, hey, this is how your bar should be facing this. Don't turn it. You have to control your bar.
Yeah.
And just kind of like reinforcing that new standard. And then it's just one of those things where it's like, so many classes and so many barbells floating around and whatnot. It's like they never do the whole awful thing that you hope that they never do.
Yeah.
Somehow, magically. It's like when you tell people, put your jump rope here, do your burpees over here, so you're not stepping on your handle, and they always gravitate towards danger. It's funny how the gravitation always happens, but the danger, thankfully, never
Yeah.
happens. I don't know. It's some kind of weird phenomenon. One of the other things I want to talk about was this. I saw a video clip of John Cena, so WWE, talking about a lesson he learned from my favorite wrestler, Eddie Guerrero. And this is when John Cena was first kind of coming up. He was a new guy, and he was talking to Eddie Guerrero after an event, and he asked him, he said, "What do you do about the shows or the matches you're doing in a gymnasium, high school gymnasium, and there's only like 5 people there? Like, what am I supposed to do with that?" Because and it made me think about coaching, because we go through situations where you might have 13 people in class like Josh did yesterday, or you might have one person in class, and it changes the energy drastically versus how many people are there. So like, what do you do? And Eddie Guerrero's response was, you you fight harder. You go above and beyond. You push yourself to an extra limit, and you put on a show for those 5 people as if there were 100,000 people there and it's WrestleMania. And the reason you do that is because you want those 5 people that leave to leave saying, "I'm glad I came today."
Right.
And they're going to leave and say, I'm glad I came today. And you're going to start your momentum there. And then slowly it becomes 8 people, then 10 people, then 30 people. And they're all coming to see you because you always perform well, and you have this momentum and respect going, and that will follow you to the bigger stages and the bigger crowds. And now you're not just wrestling in front of 100,000 people. You're wrestling in front of 100,000 people who love you and are like there for you, and they're going crazy for you. Versus if you didn't do that groundwork or treat it as seriously when it was just those 5 kids there, they're not going to grow up to be 22-year-olds that are like, "Yeah, that's my guy. I remember when I saw him here." So it's it's just you're creating that little part of that legacy if you're a wrestler. But it's the same thing, or a great lesson that you can learn from a coaching perspective. Like, one person came today. What are you going to do? You're going to coach your ass off that day and whatnot. You might be extra exhausted that day. There's going to be no downtime, no waste of time. This person's going to get extra reps. You're going to do stuff with that person that maybe you couldn't normally do with a bigger group of people, to give them extra value. I remember I had a string of Friday classes where during the open time where it was just Nyla coming in. And I was like, and I was I'd be at home thinking about it. I'm like, what am I going to do today in that class that I see only Nyla sign up for? And I know she's the only one who's going to come in today. It's been several weeks. And then I started to think about, what does she need? Only her. And what do I want her to do? Or like, oh, this is that thing I've wanted her to be able to do, but we never have time in class. And then we spend extra time with that drill. Or I used to have classes way back where it might be just Mike at the 3:30. And I'm like, oh, I can practice this Russian drill for muscle ups on the boxes with him. And it would be something that like I wouldn't be able to do with a bigger class. Maybe, I'm sure if I tried, I could, but like I can just give it more attention here. And I can also tell him, hey, I think this will be good for your muscle ups. And now that relays to him, oh, you think about me when, when I'm not in class, and you came today with a plan specifically for me. So it's just funny because it is my favorite, or he is my favorite wrestler from back in the day. And it's like, wow, what a great message that we can apply to coaching. How do you feel about all that?
Yeah, I had my string where some Sundays it was just one person. But like you said, it's almost like, okay, how can I make sure that even though it's just this person, and they might know next week, it still might be just them, how do I make it so that they're still like, oh yeah, I'll still be there because I
Yep.
know that I got something good out of this. And then, yeah, it's almost like a treat where they're coming in expecting it to be only them. And then a random Sunday, like they have a huge group and they're like, oh, even better. But
Yeah.
I was so used to and so fine and so good with what we were doing as just one person there. Um, so yeah, it's all about just giving a good experience and almost like building a rapport because it's different where I mean now it's more like people are more familiar with me coaching, but especially when I started like, oh, this is your first time or like first handful of times of me coaching. So let's build something here like a relationship or trust that you're going to get something good out of it so that either on another day you're like, oh yeah, Sunday it's usually just me and Miguel, but like we do like it's a really fun class still, and then maybe that encourages somebody else to come and all of this, but you're so bought into it that it's still worth it for you.
Yeah. And I like what you said there. They they may start to catch on to the trend that, oh, next week it's going to be just me again. And but they had such a good experience and you were so enthusiastic about them and their experience and they left with saying, I'm so glad I came today. That starts to push away the, oh, well, okay, you know, I don't want to make Miguel just work on me. I don't have muscle ups. I'm not going to get like the negativity that starts to
Yeah.
swell into it. Or, oh, maybe he'll get to just go home early. Or I don't want to have to make him work, things like that. And I'll have people tell that to me, or they're like, oh, all right, I can just go home. And I'm like, no, like, get your ass in here. We're,
Yeah.
we're, we're, we're doing this. You came, I'm here. Why are we not going to do this? You don't want them to to start to think that way. You want them to think like, oh, Miguel is looking forward to me. Oh, I better get there because Miguel's waiting for me.
Yeah.
That's what you want them to do. You want them to say Miguel's waiting for me versus like, oh, I don't want to waste Miguel's time on a Sunday. He could
Yeah.
go home and do whatever. Um, yeah. So it's that's a great thing, and that's especially where you can start to, like you said, build that rapport in a way where there isn't always a lot of time in a bigger class, especially with newer people. And those newer people are going to be the most nervous to come to the solo class. It is easier to come to the bigger classes, although the nerves are different one way or another.
Yeah.
Do you remember any, especially in your early days, did you attend any classes where it's like, whoa, it's just me? Or it's you and one other person, anything like that?
Yeah, I definitely had some early like morning classes when I just started where I don't think it was ever just me. But there were many like it's me and one other person or me and two other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, those classes are a little bit different, but yeah.
Yeah. And when you have those one person classes, that's when you can also like start to do other cool things. Like depending on who comes. Like you might have someone come in and they need muscle ups and you're like, all right, I'm going to use this progression that I've been sitting on and I really, really want to use, but it doesn't really work, or I'm just not ready to coach it with 12 people. But like, we're going to do this one, and that way you can be right there and you're like, oh, it's a vertical pull, pause, come through and really break it down for them. Or you set up the bands and you're pulling kettlebells to work on that part of it. And you can like do that. Or back in the day we had, we still have it, the ring thing. All right, I'm going to get the ring thing out, strap you in and do that. That's a nice tool. It's a pain in the butt in big classes, especially in the Metcon of people like, let me harness into here. I had earlier this year, Josh came in and we changed the workout. Is that okay? Yeah. He's the only person in class. He came and he had missed Fight Gone Bad the day before or earlier in the week, and whatever the workout was, I give box jumps, snatches, who knows. And I'm like, do you want to just do Fight Gone Bad? And he's like, yeah. And he PR'd that day because like we went into it, and then I was right there and I wrote, like, I'm counting his reps, which is also like another thing that will like It kind of
Right.
helps you go faster. So like he doesn't have to worry about counting. I'll do that, and I'm still coaching him in between. And I'm also on his ass to not stop or put it down, or to like, hey, you're really close. Get another rep. Get another rep.
Yeah.
In a way that like you can't do if it's 15 people. You can do it, but not me being there every minute of every exercise, every round. That's totally different. Or Mike recently, there was when we did those running intervals, 600, 400, 200.
Yeah.
Mike was the only person that came to the 5:15 class. I think it was a Friday, maybe, or a Wednesday, because we had Barber Club after. And he was late. It does, Eric, it does hurt a little bit when you see no one is signed up for class, and then 10 minutes after someone stumbles into class.
Yeah.
That's my one complaint. If I see your name is signed up, I'm all for it, and you come on time and whatnot. But it does hurt when it's like, oh, all right, I guess I'm gonna go to the bathroom or go eat something, and then at 12 minutes in the class, someone rolls in, and you're like, shit, now we don't have time to do anything,
Right.
you know. So there is a different scenario to all this. But Mike came in, and it was like, all right, I'm keeping track of his split times, and I'm like, and I can give him data in a way I wouldn't have been able to in a bigger class. I'm like, hey, you're maintaining your 200-meter pace on this 400. Here's what we need to do. Or on this 200, here's what we need to do. And he was running hard, you know. So it's like I can keep track of those things for him a lot differently.
Yeah.
So and it was a lot of fun because it's not like he came and he was the only person in class and he was like not gonna work. I think he worked extra hard because it was just him. And I'm like, hey, you did 48 seconds for that last 200. Let's try to hit that again for the first leg of this 400, you know, and then he just went hard on it. So yeah, it's a cool thing. It doesn't matter how many people are in the class. You just have to have a different technique for each of those.
Right.
A bigger class, even different. What's the biggest class you've coached?
I've definitely had more than 12. I think Fran was probably the second largest, and then probably the biggest I had was a Saturday. Oh, it was probably Nicole Derby's going away WOD.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember exactly how many people there were, but that was probably the biggest one.
Yeah, that was a big group. That had to have been close to 20.
Yeah,
I would say maybe because I don't think we had a cap for it. We got the group photo somewhere, but yeah, cool. Well,
I've had a good amount of like 12s and stuff, and I mean, for the most part, Sundays recently have been like averaging 7.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think today's workout.
I wasn't expecting
had people hit the snooze button a little bit. It definitely a very unique workout. Today's workout, I think, attracts a person that likes those long, grindy workouts like that.
Right.
Because people do like long workouts, but there's long workouts, and then there's long like, this kind of sucks a lot right now, and not in the traditional wall ball burpee type of suck. Like you put down that ballistic block, you don't want to pick it back up.
Yeah.
It's awkward. Did you have people hold it on the shoulder, or they're bear hug it? You had to bear hug it?
I had them mostly bear hug. I mean, like as it went on, it was like, okay, do what you got to do. But I wanted everyone to at least be like actively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you were like, you could do like, I guess you can call it like furniture carry, where I'm like, keep it in both hands. If you want to do like long arms in front of you, like you can do that. A couple like over the back, but it was mostly like, do that if you need a rest from the hug. But like we're hugging, like that's the whole point. Like your arms should feel tired after this row as you go into the hold as well.
Kind of a very unique pull push type of workout, you know, like you had all that pulling on the rower, which is like just so many like minimal resistance pulls, and then you have this pressing in on the hug, and it also hit your core a little bit. Very, very unique workout. Not a bad workout, just a different flavor. And it's good that Cap doesn't shy away from flavors. Like recently, they've had kettlebell snatches popping up a lot. They've had holds popping up a lot, which we haven't seen a whole lot of earlier in the year. And it's great to put those things in there. That way, one, it breaks it up so it's not so repetitive. But two, it just there's so many tools in the toolbox, and we should from time to time get around to them for those really long ones, or like go long and awkward.
Right.
And I like what you said there too on the way that you're carrying, you're being active with it, like you're doing work. And that's one of my pet peeves of whenever we do like box step ups with dumbbells, and you can hold it anywhere, and people want to lay it on their shoulder and cup it. I absolutely hate that, because the only reason you're doing it is because it's easy.
Yeah,
that's the only reason. Just to hold it here, this is active. This is working. Right. All of this we can say might maybe make this better when you have to go to do a jerk or a clean or something. But this does nothing. You're just getting it done for the sake of getting it done. So yeah, I've been trying to suss out like things like that where it's like, oh, you're just trying to make it easy, and we're not. Like, you're making it easy, and you're going to click that RX button. You don't deserve that button, or present it in a way of like, okay, if you want to put it there, that's scaling. You're scaling it.
Yeah,
like you're still preserving the movement, but you're modifying it in a way that makes it easier for your current ability. And I think everyone that wants to do that, they're making it easier. I think, you tell me what you think, not because of their physical ability, but because of their mental ability in a workout like that. What do you think?
Yeah. And yeah, that again, I think it's one of those like performance ones where, we have that. I honestly think it's from that one open workout where it was front rack squats with the dumbbells, and then and it was that in the burpees over the dumbbell
and the heavy
clean. The clean. That was, I think that was my first open, but that was like the first time that I had seen that was like, oh, the easiest way and the best way to do it is just put it up on your shoulders, and then you can just kind of hold.
Yeah.
And then even that hold becomes like people are just like touching. But
they should have made it a goblet squat. That would have ruined everybody to have to hold it right here.
But yeah, you're right in the way of like, it's going to tax a little bit more. So that's why you're not doing it. But it makes it more difficult later on.
And therein lies the disconnect, where I feel like we as coaches, we can't take competition strategy and open strategy and like the most efficient, shortest distance type of thing, easiest way to get more points, and let that bleed into the rest of the training.
Right.
Just because they're allowing you to do it in the open this way doesn't all of a sudden unlock this new ability that you should do it this way all the time. What you should do is you should do it this way, holding it in your hands throughout the entirety of the year. And then when they tell you, oh, it's legal just to rest it and hold it, boy, you're much more better off, versus doing it the easier way all the time.
I was trying to look it up, but we had that come up. It was a few weeks ago. I think it was the day after Shatter Slam. I think it was like toes to bar. Was it? It was, I think it was toes to bar and handstand push-ups, and then lunges with the dumbbell. It was a single dumbbell, but it was, so I just created standards. In the brief, I was like, here's how we're doing it. These are the standards that I'm creating. I know it doesn't say it on there, but this is what everyone is doing today. You have to hold it.
This was the Sunday?
Yeah.
So the 23rd was a Saturday. So the 24th, 12-minute AMRAP, 2 handstand push-ups, 2 dumbbell front rack reverse lunges, 53 or 50, 35, and then 2 chest bar pull-ups. Add 2 reps every round.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So in that one, I was like, here are the standards. That's what we're doing.
Yep. And if and it's almost like if you have to do that, are you ready for 50 pounds, 100
Yeah.
pounds total? Like
Yeah.
you should be able to do that, especially on this workout with you can't 2 reps, 4 reps, 6 reps. The lunges, I don't think I didn't do that workout. The lunges don't start to become real, I think, until especially reverse lunges, until 10, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's one dumbbell also.
Oh, all right, y'all. My
Yeah.
God, yeah. I thought it was 2.
Yeah, so
Wow, that makes it even more awkward with just
right.
one dumbbell, especially with the chest bar and the handstand push-up. Yeah. What did you tell anybody about switching sides? Like,
Yeah, I gave them the option and like we tested it out and I was like do one side and another, but especially the day after Shatter Slam because we had the overhead where I was like, you might have a favorite side or like one side that only feels right, so that's fine, but yeah.
yeah, that's like a workout where it's almost you say, hey, you don't have to get in the weeds on switching it mid-set because these should be unbroken
Right.
lunges. So, but maybe you just purposely alternate round to round, and
Yeah.
it'll even out the best that it can versus only being on your favorite side, and maybe even start on your non-favorite side, um, or just have a rhyme and a reason to it for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think all these things are good on just upholding standards and have saying what the standard is for the day and letting people know because there are a lot of people that will come in and they have all these big ideas on the workout and how they're going to get through it, and it is good that they think about it. Everybody should be thinking about it, coming in prepared, knowing what their past performances are,
Yeah.
having an idea already in their head on how they might scale this. And then you might confirm their idea or be like, hey, today we're going to do this. And they're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But all right, that's what Miguel's got for me today. But it's good that they're thinking about it.
Yep.
We do have a lot of new people joining the gym. And that does kind of cause the need to have to think a little more because we have had our finite group of people, and I feel like all the coaches have learned a lot about all those people. So like I could probably list off any number of random people that have been coming to the gym for quite some time and any workout, and you could probably tell me what they should be doing.
Yeah.
Especially if you know the stimulus. Like if I tell you, all right, Mike is coming to class and we're doing Fran, you can tell me exactly what Mike should be doing and what you would expect his performance to be, etc. But we do have some people joining in where like we don't have any data. Like, oh shucks, what do we do? Well, we have to teach them, and we have to teach them along with the rest of the class. We have to give them cues. We have to give them advice. We have to make sure they don't bite off too much that they could chew, and make sure that they're hitting the intended stimulus. But some of these people also do have limitations and disabilities, which has also kind of just presented a new challenge that you have to be ready for. We do have one athlete where they can't do any impact movements or jumping or anything like that. And pretty much what I do is when I am lesson planning, now that I know some of these people are coming in, I start to kind of add that in like, all right, I am going to prepare for them, whether I know they're coming or not. Like, oh, there's a lot of box jumps today. The workout is only 150 box jumps. I don't know if James is coming to class, but all I know is he cannot jump. So I know I need an option in here that would be available for him or anyone else that is in this situation. And then that brings up the conversation of scaling versus adapting. What is the difference? So have you looked into any of this on like adapting versus scaling? What is the difference? Why does there need to be different labels? Because they are kind of two distinct different things. Have you looked into any of this?
Not really. I guess just off the top of my head, like I guess a lot of times when we talk about scaling, it's more in the progressing towards, I guess, RX, where a lot of our scaling options are like, we're not at this point yet. so let's work on this
Yeah.
in the lead up to eventually be there. Where adapting is kind of like, yeah, it's more of a limitation where we need to do something else. Where I guess you could say like scaling might be a little bit more optional, and adapting is more like yeah, it's adapting. It's kind of like what you need to do.
Yeah, it's you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Scaling it's temporary, right? Like the hope is you do develop pull-ups over time and you have the ability to do them. And we're gonna kind of go through this progression of giving you something that matches the intended stimulus of the day with the thought of progressing you beyond that in the future. You won't always need ring rows. We're gonna try to progress you past that. So it's a temporary thing versus adapting is more of a structural change. Like you have to do something in a way that is the new RX for you because there there is no if you're in a wheelchair, there is no jumping up on that box. So the RX has to change. It's the same workout. We're trying to preserve the intended stimulus. So we still want the adaptive athlete to get the stimulus that was intended out of the workout, and we want the movement patterns to be as close as possible. But it's changed in this way on that. Okay, this is the new RX for this person, um, and I have some examples written down. So like, if we think about pull-ups, ring rows. Okay, everybody can do ring rows for the most part, and it's for many people scaling to ring rows. It's going to be a temporary thing, or we eventually want to get up onto the pull-up bar. But for someone who's in a wheelchair, if they're unable to get out of their chair, some people can. So again, it changes. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
going back and forth. They may need to do banded rows. So they're sitting in their chair. You loop a TheraBand or another band up on the pull-up bar. They sit under it and they pull. They pull down. What a beautiful thing! A thing, and it's a thing that didn't exist like in so many years past.
Yeah.
For a population that maybe would have thought this isn't for me, I can't do this, and it's like now they're in the gym improving their health and fitness, and they're next to someone who's maybe doing scat pull-ups or hanging or doing, instead of 21 pull-ups they're doing 3 every round because they have some, or they're pulling up on rings and other implements. They're doing the same movement pattern. It's a downward pull. Instead of pulling up they're pulling down. There's resistance. They're working the same muscles. It's really a beautiful thing, but what they're doing isn't scaling. It's adapting versus another person who has the ability to keep the progression going, whether they do the work or not. That's the thing. Like, hey, you can be a lifelong ring row person for many years, but it doesn't mean that you couldn't move past it or have the ability to do other options.
Yeah.
The person in the wheelchair is not going to do jumping pull-ups, which might be just another part of the progression to getting pull-ups. But they're still using a pull-up bar. They're still using a downward pull. This is now inclusive fitness. Everybody's doing the same thing instead of having them do something completely different. Oh, okay. Shucks, I need something upper body for you to do. So everyone else is doing pull-ups. You just sit there and push this pipe over your head. Well, that's not necessarily the same, unless you're going to put that pipe through the band and they pull the pipe down.
Right.
Another example: box step-ups. Then that would be a scaling option for people who are maybe temporarily unable to jump. But you might have someone who is a single leg athlete. They're going to do a single leg box jump. It's or if they're seated, they might do a ball throw. So with the ball throw, again, we're in the chair, but we're doing an explosive plyometric movement. And the way we throw it, we might throw it different ways. So we're just finding something that will keep us as close as possible to whatever the original intent was of the exercise. I'll just quickly go through 2 more. Running, reduce the distance, or hop on a machine. If you're in a wheelchair, though, you're pushing. So you're going to use your wheelchair for your locomotion, but we might need to do a different distance because being in a wheelchair doing a mile is vastly different than being on running a mile, and even if they're a fit person, it's a lot more demand here, on the arms. They could do hand cycling. So all right, the scaling option today, everybody, is to bike now. So everyone's going to bike. What about the person that can't get up into the bike?
Yep.
Are they still scaling, or do you need to adapt that more? They can pull up to the front of it, and they're going to do hand cycling. Is hand cycling scaling, or is it adapting? It's not a temporary thing. Could be, but it's probably not. So this is adapting it for them.
Yep.
Deadlift, reduce the weight on the bar, use kettlebells, or one arm deadlift, having a strap that hooks you onto the other end of the bar. Or if there's a grip difference, like some people might have, like really, really strong one grip, really, really weak other grip. Well, we may need to use a strap on this one. Well, that's adapting, not necessarily scaling, because this might be permanent. So have you started to think more along those lines, especially with some of the recent members joining the gym who do have more advanced limitations?
Yeah, I think even after we took the few classes during games week, with the course there, just to be more familiar with, like, oh, what would this be? Like, what would the equivalent be? Or like, yeah, if you have to, for a seated athlete, like what type of pressing would be equivalent to this, or like to even like not make it too repetitive. I know it'll still be a lot of like upper body and pressing and all of that, but how can I kind of mix this up so that it works?
Yeah.
And again, it's not like, it's not scaling. It's like, what is the adaptation, or how can you make it so that somebody who is a little bit more limited can still do the same ish workout?
Yeah. And still finish in the same time, because you still have the same goals. All right, I want everyone to finish. If I'm saying the stimulus is 10 rounds, I want everyone to be finishing in the pocket of 8 to 12 rounds, somewhere in there. So if I have everyone huddled around 9 rounds, 10 rounds, 11 rounds, but then I have that one person that got 3 rounds, or one person that got 25 rounds, and they weren't doing it RX, I've messed up the scaling on 2 people. Or same thing with timed workouts. I have one person that finishes in 3 minutes. I have one person that finishes in 18 minutes. The goal was 12 minutes. I've messed up greatly on 2 of these. You still, if you have the adaptive athletes coming in, or someone who needs adaptation, you still need them to fit within that, and you still want to be able to have them be included in the class and feel like they belong, which means you also need to have progression. So like, what do you do if it's double under day? It's Annie, and you have your double under progression. It's written down in your notes. You're ready to go teach it, and then someone who comes in and they cannot jump rope. Okay, here, I'm going to have you, Miguel, sit on a rower for the next 8 minutes, and we'll be over here doing this double under progression, and you just keep on rowing over there. Is that cool?
Yeah, no,
it's not. So like, what you need is to have like a progression. So I'll give an example. During Annie, I had this athlete who cannot jump in class, and we're doing double unders and sit-ups. Oh boy, what are we gonna do for this whole hour? I have one person in the room that can't jump. So we went through our warm-up and all that stuff. And then what I had them do is use the ski erg. So we're still doing a monostructural movement. We're still having a shoulder core type of thing. And the ski erg is a popular tool for adaptation. But I had the group, all right, hey, you guys are going to do single unders. We're going to go for 20 seconds, and I want you to focus on this. Then I told that person, and I demoed, all I want you to do is stand and pull your arms up and down and get the arm movement, and you're going to do that for 20 seconds. And I want you to focus on keeping your elbows bent and pull them back and have the hands come up here. So I gave both really, really quick. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you're focusing on. Then we start the timer, and boom, now we're all moving. Next step, okay, you guys are going to do single, double, And then what I want you to do is hold the arm position and just crunch down and come up. So I want you to feel holding your arms bent here, and I want you to focus more on your abs on this set. So and then finally, you guys do double unders, and now I want you to do the full skier.
Yeah.
And it sounds simple. In the moment, it actually is hard. You have to make sure you're managing both groups and you don't leave anyone behind. And you had to have thought about it for sure ahead of time. But now it's a more cohesive class. Now everyone belongs and is included and has something to do with two vastly different skills, but like we can still be on the same page together, and you're still getting coaching, instead of, okay, hop on the bike and watch us work out for the rest of the class.
Yeah.
You're now the outsider. Have you practiced making sure you have like a secondary progression in case the first one doesn't work out?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was that same workout that we were talking about with the chest to bars and all of that. And sometimes I have to, because it was chest to bars. It was also the handstand push-ups. So yeah, you kind of have to. And I always try to also the order in which you say them, because sometimes it can make it seem like the secondary option is like an afterthought where you're like, oh yeah, and then also if you're doing this, do this. So yeah, I try to stay cognizant of that as well, where I kind of just present it as two options, where I'll go like, if you did this last time, you can try moving on to this. If you did this, then move on to this, instead of like, all right, now we're going to do negatives. Oh yeah, if you can't do negatives, do this. Like it's,
if you're still working on negatives.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's making sure that like one thing isn't weighted more than another, that everything is equal, everything is okay, is important. That's one thing I could have done better during that class is I think it would have maybe been a little bit better had I given the skier instruction first and then the instruction for the double unders, because the skier instruction required more of like, let me show you real quick. And I'd already told the rest of the group you're going to do singles. So now they're waiting for me to do that versus I could have been like, all right, hey, you're going to do this. And then, all right, you guys do singles and focus on keeping your chest up and moving your wrists and then go. So definitely the order does help to smooth things out a little bit. And I know for myself, I've been hopping into more classes recently, and I hope to continue to do that. I've had to think about how do I adapt some of these things to work for myself too. I took Shaf's class on Friday, and the workout was Cindy. And for the longest time, I wanted to do this workout that I had in my head called Static Cindy. I don't know if it's out there or whatnot, but Static Cindy is something that I thought of just for myself every time Cindy kind of comes up. Because I always want to do that workout. I like Cindy, but like there's a lot of times where like I can't squat, or it's like, all right, how many times do you want to squat to a chair, or do I want to insert sit-ups into this? So I thought about Static Cindy as a way that I could like work on those things where like I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes or I'm going to do this for 5 rounds. And all it was a 10-second active hang, and then a 20-second plank hold, and then a 30-second squat hold. So I'm just doing like I'm keeping the movement stimuluses alive. I'm hanging from the pull-up bar and holding a hollow body, and shoulders are active. And then I'm doing the same on the plank hold. And then the squat, I'm like, boy, I need these knees to bend. But if we're going up and down repetitively, it's going to take a long time, longer than it should, even if I reduce the reps. And I also want to be able to walk tomorrow, and it's a workout that could like destroy my legs for way too long. So I'm like, let me just hop in right now and do this. And I was able to get 10 rounds, which comes out to 5 minutes in the squat, 3 minutes and 20 seconds and in the plank, and 1:40 hanging. And that all together, if you add that up, is 10 minutes of holding. I felt that. that was a lot, especially trying to hold the hollow body on both the pull up and hang and the plank, not just doing the range of motion or hanging out there off of my joints for the sake of completing time. It's like, no, if we're here, we need to be engaging the muscles and making them work, especially if we're not making them work the way everybody else is.
Yep.
So it was a really interesting experience on it. One, I was surprised I was able to get 10 rounds, just because I thought that the fact that the time is all automatically being eaten away, plus all the transition time. And I've done many Cindy's where I have done 10 rounds, and most people get around 10 rounds. So when I got to 7 and I saw I had some time, like, well, I have to get to 10 now.
Right.
Like, and that's a thing too, where it's like, it kept me going. Like, I would have been upset if I didn't get 10 rounds. Like, if I got 9, like, I'll push myself at the end of a workout to get a specific number. Do you do that?
Yeah, it depends where you're at. Like, sometimes you can do the math and kind of know where you'll end up if you keep a pace or if you only slow down a little bit. Yeah.
Like yesterday's workout, I was doing seated snatches, and I had completed 5 rounds, and I was doing the snatches, and there were like 30 seconds left, and there was a possibility at my end where my score would have been 5 plus 11, and I'm like, but I wanted to say 5 plus 15 for some reason. Like, of the 1-5, and finishing, I wasn't even going to finish all the snatches for that 6th round. I would have had to have done 18, but in my head, I don't like the way 11 is. I wanted it to 15. And then as I was doing it, I started to speed up my snatches, and I'm like, you're crazy. Like, this doesn't matter at all. But like, for some reason in the moment, in the back of my head, it did matter. I'm like, no, we have to do 15, not 11 or 9. You're going to stop it. Like, you're going to only get 9. Ugh. I don't know. Like, I don't know why I do that. I don't know where that has come from in my CrossFit past. Do you do that at all, where you're like, no, it has to be 21? I'm going to push it for this last 20 seconds to make sure it's 21.
Yeah, I typically like to try to finish a movement as much as I can. But if it's like a lot of reps, I at least try to, like, all right, let's see exactly what number we end up on. Yeah.
There's magic numbers. Like, had I been, let's say, in a more progressed through the workout, and I was on 19 and there was like 15 seconds left, it's got to be 21.
Yeah.
You know? and like even 20, like, no, I'm stopping at 21. It's not going to be 22. Like, it's like, it has to be specific, because if I get past 21, well, now it has to be 25. Like, there are no other numbers in between some other numbers. It has to be this specific thing. But so yeah, just thinking, and luckily for me, like, when I'm coming to the class, I had already been thinking about all week about what I was going to do in Josh's class. So like, I already knew, like, we're going to do seated snatches. I'm going to do step up overs. The height of the step up over is subject to change. I was him and hawing on if I should go up by 2s or if I should go up by 3s. I decided to keep it by 3s. And I spent half the workout retaping my wrist and whatnot, because it was very painful, and going through different wrist wraps and trying to figure that out. But at the earlier part of class, he had his box jump height thing, where he did every minute on the minute, you do 3 box jumps to progressively higher heights. And what I ended up doing was I went over by the plates and I put down all the different heights of the plates. I'm like, well, these are my heights. Like, I'm going to make myself jump during this part, because even though I don't want to do box jumps, like, and I really can't, I should still, as a human being, be able to jump a little bit, you know? So I jumped up 3 to a 10-pound plate, then to a 15, then a 25, 35, and 45. That way we end on the biggest one. And that was my way of preserving the stimulus of that part of the workout. Like, I just brought the heights all the way down to ones that I knew I could handle, or I was going to build up to, that I knew that the build up would get me there, you know?
Yeah.
And also that I'm not going to wake up the next day and be like, I've made a mistake, you know? Because that's something I definitely didn't want out of yesterday's workout, to be like, well, we did hang snatches and you were doing weird things with your back because you're just trying to flip it over because of your wrist, you know? So like, being in the chair kept it a lot more fixed. There's only so many ways we can wiggle around this. And the only thing you have to do is just push through this part now.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, I'll just get it up there and lean to the right and then switch over, which I knew I would do if you're trying to go fast. And I didn't want to do dumbbells because at least being connected to the bar, it's easier than just having only a dumbbell in his hand. This is the difference, by the way. Watch.
Yeah.
I'm squeezing it as hard as I can. I can cheat with my fingers a little bit, but there's sometimes when like you guys are done with Barbell Club and like I might go to help and pick up a 10-kilo plate and I'm like, oh no, we can't use this. I got to use my other hand. I can't even pick it up. But so I've been thinking about it a lot more on like, well, what would I do? And I think it helps to put yourself in that situation. Well, what would I do if I couldn't do this? You know, and then that gives you more tools on what you could give someone else.
Yeah.
And it kind of falls in line with what we were talking about 2 meetings ago now for our coaches development on doing things that hit the muscles and joints in the way that was originally intended, like a vertical pulling option for scaling pull-ups versus a horizontal option. Well, it's like, all right, are we pulling? Yes, but we're not working the muscles the same. And if the goal is to take this scaling to level and progress it up, if we only ever do horizontal ring rows, we're not going to get pull-ups that way. You know, what do you think about that? Or have you been thinking more about that since we've been putting it more into the conversation recently?
Yeah, even like I know that sometimes like an option for scaling muscle ups is like, oh, ring row and then dips. But like even forcing like a false grip pull up.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have the pull ups, you're not at ring muscle ups yet. False grip, one, because I see like, oh, false grip is that's something that everyone probably needs to work on a little bit more. But getting that comfortability on the ring still, where it's like, you got to pull. Now try to pull yourself up higher using this grip that you're going to have to kind of use for a muscle up. And, you know, the rings will be in closer than like that shoulder width because you want to focus on kind of like knuckles touching and things like that. Yeah, have been options that I've been thinking of like, oh, if I get the right person in class, this will be the option that I'll go for.
Yeah. And working on components of it versus the components of it and trying to preserve as much range of motion as possible and get people time in positions. Like we were talking about yesterday, a handstand walking scaling, you could do wall walks, but also add in a hold on the last one. So there's more time spent in the handstand, especially if you are going to give someone wall walks and they're even with the wall walk. So because the scaling options they're no joke, you know, that's always a funny comment when people who have the full movement have to either practice for the day because it's part of the progression, or maybe it's a day where they have to scale and they're like, this is what everybody has to do all the time. Right. You know, like because they've gotten so good at kipping on the muscle ups, they just glide up there. And then when they go to do the boxer pose progression, you see them shaking and everything, which is good because it exposes the flaws in their muscle up. But I've been thinking about that. Muscle up's a great example. I want to try to start getting people to do more of a vertical pull than that layback hips high pull, which I guess the layback hips high pull, it's okay, but it feels like it's a progression to teach you that final part of a kipping muscle up.
Yeah.
Where your hips are high and then you pull through. But like I've been thinking about more, I'm like, well, why am I using that as an option for someone that doesn't even have a pull up or dip and isn't anywhere close to being able to do a kipping pull up? You know, it'd be way better if we did the whole like this. Now, if we're doing a vertical pull, not only is this helping them later for muscle ups, and they're still completing the stimulus of the range of motion, just assisted, but it might actually help their pull ups too. Versus only being this focus of the last half of a kipping thing. Yep. The muscle up's a weird one because it kind of seems like the kipping muscle up is the default muscle up.
Yeah.
And that's like, I don't know, is there any other movement like that?
Yeah,
Because even
no.
handstand push-ups and pull-ups get programmed as strict. You'll
Yeah.
see that. But we rarely see strict muscle up pop up. But it's not also because it's so hard, because we'll see other things that get programmed that are crazy hard. Yeah, it's 405 for the deadlift today. We know like a large majority of the population can't do that, and we'll have to
Right.
scale it. So maybe that's just like also a collective community thing on the way we look at things. We look at gymnastics different than we look at weightlifting, than we look at running. Oh, all right, I can move my feet one in front of the other for a long period of time, so I can do the distance, even though it says the big one. Doesn't mean I should be doing the distance, but I can. It's more achievable versus a 405 deadlift. No, I can't even budget from the floor, so I have no choice but to scale it. Sometimes the movement itself gives you no choice but to scale it. And we look at it in different ways than if we see 225. Well, I can budget from the floor, which opens this new door. The ways collectively that we look at these things is it's different. It's a little weird maybe sometimes. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I was thinking of like what it's just so like I even like the breakdown of what a muscle up would look like without like the progression for a strict muscle up. Because I mean, it seems more natural to like, all right, you're getting upside down for a handstand push up.
Mm-hmm.
Only way I really can teach you to get down is by slowly kind of bringing yourself down. Like I'm not going to teach you to just crash down.
Yeah.
Whereas with a muscle up, it's kind of, unless you like start them off on a higher set of rings where, all right, now from here you have to continue pulling. And then you kind of like, unless you use something like the ring thing.
Or the boxer pose.
Yeah.
Where
but I mean,
the rings are a little
pose,
higher.
I feel like because of, all right, now do it in a Metcon, it's like they're just going to kind of skip steps. So it's hard to slow that one down.
And that might be where the boxer pose does have some versatility. You could keep the pauses, just reduce the time there. Like, hey, you have to count in your head 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. And then maybe adjust the reps too. Or you could have them, let's say if I had to do that, but you're a little more advanced on the boxer pose, you could just fluidly pull if you're hitting all the spots. And maybe you only have to pause in one spot. Like your pull here and the transition through is fine, but you should pause a little bit more at the bottom of the dip to make sure you're getting there and then press up. So you can also do different pauses for different people. Or even, but then the challenge on the muscle up also becomes the dip portion. Crap. No one in class today can do a dip. So and sometimes it feels a little defeating. I'm teaching this muscle up progression, and one of the hugest parts of the progression, no one can do. Yeah. And even jumping to do it is still so freaking hard. Mm-hmm. So what do we do? And what you could do is kind of like taking a page off of what we've been talking about recently. Well, what are the components of this? And it's okay to separate the components for scaling. So instead of maybe having Miguel, you do pull-ups and dips as your scaling option, maybe I do have you do a strict vertical boxer pose type progression, pulling to the sternum, transitioning through, then transitioning back, and you do 3 of those. Then you go between 2 boxes supported, by your toenails, and do 3 dips there. Like, so now like there's the movement broken down into 2 components. And of course I have to make sure that I figure out the appropriate amount of reps and sets for you to do that makes sense in the context of the workout. But I think that might be a cleaner and more productive way to do it than to even have people worrying about the dip, because they go to jump up in the dip, they pike up, the rings are every which way, the elbows stop locking out. And also now after the dip, because the dip was so difficult and disorganized, when they do come down, this transition forward into the next muscle up is so it's so vastly different. It's so off. So it would, and going from front to dip to here, you could even have people just do like pull and then do 3 of these.
Yep.
And then lower back down and then go to the box and do those really tough box dips. That almost to me seems like a better muscle up scaling and work for the day too. You got to do 5 rounds. I'm going to have you do 3 and 3. That's 15 of those dips, 15 of those transitions. That's 30 reps total for the muscle ups. And then maybe Mike was doing 15 muscle ups, just cruising through them, 1 to 2 sets. And then you all go off and do your run or your burpees and other things. But having people do more productive work with their scaling and maybe even like slow it down. Like, all right, you don't have to like, oh, I'm trying to get them done. We're not trying to get them done as fast as possible. If you do them at a consistent tempo, unbroken, that is as fast as possible as it needs to be. And that's also why I have you doing 3 instead of 5. So that alone will keep you on track. And this will still be hard work because of the way we're going to do it.
Yeah.
Or do 3 of these and then do 5 dips because the dips are going to go quick. What do you think about that? Building scaling options and progressions using the components of the exercise.
Yeah, I think that, and I'm just thinking in terms of like, yeah, I think, because if you want to go fast as well, there is no part that you can cheat. Like you just have to do either like the pull up faster, you drop down, you go to that dip station on the boxes, you do those a little bit faster instead of like, I'm just going to skip this middle part because I want to get through these reps fast. Like if you want to go fast, then do separates so that you're getting the full of each thing.
Yeah. And I know you've seen it a million times. Think about the later rounds on that jumping hip high, layback, scaled ring row muscle up. Think about the later rounds, like what those look like. I'm like, because like we try, like I try to emphasize, I want 3 steps. I want the pull, I want the flip, I want the press. And it starts to all blur together, which they should transition together smoothly. But the way it's happening is not that. And also the biggest problem that I have with the whole thing, outside of now looking at the layback part in a different light based off of what I learned with the conference, but also my biggest issue with the whole thing is that dip part. It seems so worthless to me almost. And there is something to be said about jumping up and feeling the rings and stuff like that. Well, hey, that was the warm up. That was just practicing it and whatnot. But now in the Metcon, let me give you something a little more substantial, and remember this, and let's do this from time to time. And I do think that might lead to the dip being better in the long run. Yeah. But we also can't, because people do view things differently. Well, all right, I want to do the jumping ring dip, and we want them to do the jumping ring dip because it's more inclusive, and we're doing the thing today, like we're hanging from the pull-up bar one way or another instead of hanging off the rings. Like we're getting to play with the toys. But I think we can accomplish both. If you let them play a little bit, let's try it out, and then you're like, well, all right, now let's do this, and this is what I want you to do, type of deal. Rope climb is another good example. In the rope climb workout last week, that workout I was thinking about all day. It's funny, like, do you ever work out where you're like dreading coaching it? You ever work out where you're dreading coaching it?
Sometimes, yeah.
It's a weird feeling where you're just like, I just don't even know how this is going to work today. Like typically it's like a rope climb workout like that. I'm often frustrated by the rope climb workouts because that seems to be the workout that everyone will come in that day, which is a good thing. But it's also the workout where they're like, have 5 different implements as well with it. So not only does everyone come in today, but they're like, let's use a kettlebell, a box, a bike, and all that stuff. And it's like, why are you programming it like this? Yeah. Like, so that's that's a whole separate issue. But also, it's because this is something I 100% cannot show you.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're like, I would love for everyone to spend 3 whole minutes on just finding out what a hook is, sitting on a box and doing it, then trying to do box and stand and all of that. And then you're like, nope, do your get ups. That's all
Yeah,
we really got time for today.
and especially like I've been in some situations where it's like that is the workout, and I don't have anyone in class where I'm like, all right, let's watch Josh. He's gonna get his grip and do this, and I'm just like, oh man, like so I'm just like not looking forward to that. So
Yeah.
this workout was one of them. But then like I was like, you know what? Let me write a new progression for it, and that made me more excited to teach it because well now I have to test this thing. And the focus on that was a more vertical pull for the get up portion of it because get ups are another like kind of like pet peeve of mine or like a movement scale that I'm like not entirely happy with because it always turns into craziness with
Yeah.
people bending their knees and or just falling down. And however much you tell them, like take small steps with your hands, they have to bring their hand 3 feet down and fall off the rope essentially. So it's one that like I'm consistently not happy with. So I baked in first essentially vertical scaling where we would sit on the floor, feet are flat and legs are bent, and we would just use our legs and stand and pull to the sternum and then go right back down again. And then after that, we would, instead of standing, you're going to try to go hand over hand and pull yourself up. So I baked in more vertical pulling into that, and it worked out really well. And then I was able to use that for scaling, and that essentially like I know everyone's going to go there anyways to some way, but I want to make it less sketchy and more focus on a vertical pull versus the half knee bent
Right.
horizontal pull. Because I was thinking, I'm like, all right, yes, I'm going hand over hand, but that is not a rope climb. Like you're never like so, and that I feel like there's a disconnect on people getting their first rope climb, but they've only ever been doing some sort of variation of a horizontal pull. They never want to move their hands to go overhead.
Yeah.
Because they're always here, go in front of them. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, again, that makes sense. That's more like, again, we did that ring pull up where the knees were bent, right? That's what we were doing in the
Yes.
coaches meeting.
Oh yeah, yep.
And then
the heel assisted.
right, yeah, that one. And then same thing with like the more of a ring pull up where, yeah, because you're not even, yeah, I guess the actual pull part of it, you're not leaning back during a rope climb, so you wouldn't.
And those of you that do kind of do that,
That's more like when the legs are moving too. Like I wouldn't lean back as my arms are moving. That's like that's super scary. So, yeah, because it's like even if you want to, depending on who you ask, like you want to do minimal lean back to get your legs as high as possible, like a trade-off. But also like when you're pulling, you want to be, and your hands are going over, you want to be like face to face with the rope.
Yeah. And I've been playing around, like sketching it out. How can I continue to build out this more vertical style of thing? And like one is like, you have to kind of get it out of your head. I don't care if they're using their legs. I don't care. Yeah. Like they're going to use their legs. Right. As soon as you turn around, Miguel, I'm going to stand up, but I'm still taking them through this motion. And in the progression, I can have everybody stand under the rope with their feet in their squat stance, grab the rope maybe here, like eye level, and then squat down and hang. Now everyone is hanging. And then if I want to move on to the next step, all right, now I want you to reach up higher, hang, and lift your feet off the floor. Some people may not be able to do that. Okay, I want you to repeat the last drill. All right, and now so like, how can I have this mirror the regular full progression? But what about all the people who step one of the regular progression is immediately way too hard?
Yeah.
immediately. So I'm trying to have it mirror that where everybody can be on the same page. And then we can also start to emphasize different ways to go about this vertical, but essentially grooving that vertical path. I can see them all hanging first. All right, good. Head between the arms. Where are your hips going? Oh, you're leaning back too much. Scoot your hips forward. Bend your knees more. And then we can start to go up and down, or different types of things. And we can still work on the foot wrap. And if we're thinking about this kind of segmented scaling, maybe you have a small class and you have a box set up, and you're like, you know what? I want you to do 3 or 5 vertical pulls from your squat, and I want you to try to focus on more pulling through your upper body for that. And of course, the legs will be involved a little bit. Then I want you to go over that box and give me 3 or 5 foot reps. Just like get the repetition. And then other people, you might be able to progress. Hey, I want you to do those vertical pulls. Then I want you to go to the box. I want you to foot wrap once and stand up. And it could even be, if it's supposed to be 5 rope climbs, I want you to do 4 of those, 1 of those, 3 of those, 1 of those. So yeah, it's I think we can get more creative with it in that way.
Yeah.
And it also makes it more exciting and fun to coach the movements versus like, what are we going to do today? I can't even do this thing.
Yeah.
Ugh, and I did have one athlete in the Metcon. It was front squats. It was the one that we were talking about last meeting. Yeah. It was the front squats and rope climb workout. Where are we going to take it from the floor or not? We took it from the floor. Oh no, from the rig. I did from the rig. And then for this particular athlete, I had them put a chair under the rope, and I just want you to pull yourself up out of that chair, and then I want you to lower yourself back down into the chair. And because I was thinking earlier today, I'm like, what could we do for this athlete? I could have her lay down on a box or two and pull herself up from laying, but that was still in the get up mindset of laying on your back. And I was like, you know what? No. I want this to be vertical. And by having it be vertical, it's more inclusive of her doing what the same thing everyone else is doing. Yeah. So that worked out really, really well. And I could have had her gone, and could in the future, from a lower target, as she's ready for it. Like, all right, how high is this box? Well, let's use a smaller one, and we just build it up that way. And this particular athlete did a couple things like wrapping the foot and like standing a little bit. And they're like, I've never been able to do that before,
Yeah.
And that was just the way we were practicing it. Like, because again, like every gym is different. We don't want to be the gym where it's like, all right, everybody, test it out. Can you do it or not? Because that's how an athlete like that gets lost. They're like, I've never been able to do it like that before, because no one ever said, hey, here's how you do it. Go off with your partner. We're going to go for a minute. I want you to trade back and forth, just practicing this one thing. And then the next step builds upon that and builds upon that. It's surprising to me every time we get new athletes into the gym and they're surprised at the way that we're doing it. Have you had that conversation with people before?
Yeah, with a few of the drop-ins actually, where it's like, oh, let's try this. And they're like, I think, like, I've had a couple where they're like, that might be too easy. And I'm like, well, let's try it. Or like, they're like, oh, I've never even tried that before. And at the end, they're like, oh yeah, I totally get how that's one, like, closer to the actual thing. Or like, oh, that's something that I might tell my coaches over there next time we have to do this certain thing. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And it's like because that's the way we do it. Like Miguel, you have a superpower. Like if you went on vacation somewhere and you like reached out, you're like, hey, can I do a guest coach spot at some random gym? You might just like, they're like, who the hell is this guy? Hey, can we hire you full time? But it's just like, you've just been drilled into this system. Like, this is just the way that we do it, and it's kind of like a little mini superpower for our gym. But it's I can't imagine doing it any other way, And of course, there's not to say that we don't do that. There are days where it's all right, we have to prioritize the deadlifts, but the workout's 45 minutes. So it literally is, can you climb the rope or not? Do a couple practice. We can get a little mini couple drills in here, but I'm not going to be able to spend 12 minutes breaking down all the components. So it does change from time to time. We do have to pick and choose what is the main focus of the day. and you don't want to get in the weeds of like teaching a seminar on every single movement. There's a fine balance.
Yeah.
Because again, we don't want to be talking more than they're actually moving as well. But yeah, it's fun to think about, and it's made kind of like focusing more on the components and preserving the stimulus of each component a little bit more, and also thinking about more adapting versus scaling and these things. I feel like it's just giving like a new or fresh perspective on like, yeah, I'm going to change this progression and like, let's do this. And the nice thing is everything that you're doing with those, like if we're doing like vertical pulls from a squat, things like that, hanging, that benefits always the people that have the movement themselves.
Yeah.
Like when you're, if you're taking the whole class through the boxer pose progression and you have Mike in class, it allows you to see, hey, you know what, he flares out instead of he does this weird thing every time. And you already know now if he's doing a weird thing down here, he's doing it up there. You may not have seen it because you're also not up there. He's really high up in the air, you know? So just that you're at a different angle. And you can also stop him. You can like, all right, we're paused here, and you can go in there and fix him. And that will make his muscle ups up there better. And then now you can also be like, hey, Mike, I want to make sure you pull all the way through up there the same way we did down on the floor. Because that's something that in a recent muscle up workout, like he lands very high at the top of his dips sometimes, and cuts his transition short because he's so freaking strong, you know, in his upper body to be able to do that. And also he knows how to kip things. And when you know how to kip, you also know how to get away with things, I feel. Like, you know, like I can cut this corner and do that. So yeah, they will always, the RX peeps, the RX plus peeps will always benefit from everything else that comes before it. And then you're just leaving people at their bus stops. Okay, if you can go on to here, awesome. If you're still working on double unders, I want you to practice single, double again. Or, hey, let's change it up. Let's do single, double, like just different things. It's all fun. Isn't it fun?
Yeah. Especially coming up with like, and it's not coming up with new ways, like these things have always existed, but you're like, oh, we've been doing this for a while. What if I do this?
Yeah.
Or like, I know which athletes have to work on these specific things. Sure, let's say first scaling option is this thing, but I want you to do something specific to you. Like I want you to work on rebounding at the bottom of your kip. As your legs come down, I want you to go right back up. So we're going to do this thing specifically to work on that. And I think that helps, again, like bring it all the way back to like smaller classes, bigger classes, whatever. Like if athletes know that you're thinking about their movement specifically, like it helps them and makes them want to come to class more because they feel like it's more individualized towards them. Like they're always going to gain something.
Yep. And because you've put so much thought into all of this, you've planned it out, you've learned about your athletes. Now you really can have a 12-person class where the workout is muscle ups and snatches, and you can take care of everybody in such an efficient way. Like you can like, all right, you have the an adaptive athlete that's doing seated snatches, and they're going to do this type of thing to work on their muscle up stuff. And then you have Mike, who you can also give him a nugget instead of being like, okay, all right, I know Mike's okay. He's RX athlete. He's fine and whatnot. I need to focus more on these people. Like you can truly take care of everybody. And that's just a well-rounded class. That's where you're effectively relaying the expectations. You're giving clear instructions. You're utilizing the time efficiently. You're not spending too long on one thing. You're not getting in the weeds over here on another thing. You're dropping people off on the bus stops on where they need to be. It's hard practice. We're putting in a lot of work. And then everybody, regardless of ability, gets something. They get a little bit of a nugget. And it is the RX more advanced athletes that they can kind of like get lost on like, all right, you got to assume that they're okay. And sometimes you do have to make that decision, but like they want coaching too. They want attention too. If you have a CrossFit Games athlete come into class, you still got to give them something. You still got to coach them up. Everybody wants coaching, and everyone should get coaching, and that can be daunting. Someone comes into class. You ever have someone? Do you ever get nervous if someone comes to class, a particular person or anything like that?
Yeah.
Not
in that way. No.
Yeah. Yeah, it can happen.
Yeah.
We had a comment yesterday. I made someone nervous when I came to class, but it's like, but it's also it's like I'm not here to evaluate or anything. And plus, like, I've thought a lot into what I'm doing, so like you actually truly don't have to worry about me at all. Like, and also I'm the best listener in class because I know your pain. So like, so I'm making sure that like I'm getting everything I need. I have a plan. I thought about it. I'm not talking all these things. I'm just here to do the workout, So if anything, that should help, and in a pinch, if you needed me to, I'm out of class and I'm helping. Like if all of a sudden 15 people show up, like, oh, I'm not taking this class anymore. Like I should help. Like in yesterday's class with Josh, we had an athlete that wasn't going to be able to do any shoulder stuff. So like I was trying to help them figure out, well, can we do this? Can we do a deadlift? And even holding onto the bar and that pull too much. So eventually we just came to the determination. All right, how about you just bike instead? Like, all right, like everything I'm throwing out, you're putting down. So, and also I would like to get my stuff to work out. So so I just went and got him a bike. I'm like, all right, like. So I didn't do half the warm up Josh had. When they were snatching, I didn't do any of it. I was just helping this one athlete, and then I went and got the bike. And now this is something Josh doesn't have to worry about. So not only does he really not have to worry about me, he can totally assume I have a plan, but also I've got his back. Like I'm like looking around, like, what are you doing over there? Well, not. Let me go over there, and like, So I think as coaches, we should also always be coaching. And that could be a hard thing because you want to get your workout in too, but also you're a leader in the community, and it could be even just like remembering, when you can catch your own breath or something, be like, come on, Miguel, come on, pick up the bar and whatnot. And then you go pick up your bar. Yeah. And I like doing that because like, if I'm yelling at you to pick up your bar and encouraging you, I get a little extra rest before I pick up my bar, because I'm doing something else. I'm helping Miguel. Don't worry about me. Do you do that at all? Like, do you like encourage people? Like, because it's not really cheering on, but it might be like during Cindy when I was holding my squats, I would yell at Mike. Because like now that I'm down there, I could see if the chest was hitting the floor or not. So I would yell over to him like, get deeper, touch your chest to the floor, or like, come on, you have to go now. Like let's get to the squats or things like that. As I'm just casually holding the bottom of mine, watching him work out. But like, do you do stuff like that? Are you communicative?
Yeah, to a degree. I try not to be like too many cooks of it. Yeah. Where like it depends on the scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the scenario, and it should be supportive too.
Right.
Like yesterday's workout was a workout where it's like you're so busy doing this stuff, there isn't really an opportunity to like yell across the room and be like, let's go Celestino or something like that. On a workout like Cindy, it's a little easier to do that. But on box jumps and other things, plus like you got to have timing when you yell at someone when they're doing the box jump, like right as they're about to take off, you don't want to be like tuck your knees, Miguel, and then you're like, like you got to wait for them to be on the end points. Like, all right, when you're on the box, like, or you're just between stepping off, same thing like a snatch or like you can't yell at someone mid snatch to do something. You almost have to let it finish first.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are all. Well, it's funny. It's like we've talked about so much, and it's like we want to do it all. We should be doing it all. We're working on getting better at doing all of these little things. I do think it worked well taking the bar off of the squat rack, just to close the loop on that for this particular day. It's like, all right, everyone found a good weight, and they were also happy too. So it's like, all right, like let them have this one thing, because like when I said, oh, and we're gonna take the bar from the rack, like, a large portion of the group were like, yes, like they're like, it's like, yeah, it's what was it, Tuesday or whatnot? Like, yeah, like you got your win for the week, but just wait till other workouts this week. I'm gonna want different things. But it's like it's almost like this is what they want to have happen. So like, give it to them sometimes. Sometimes you just got to give it to them.
Yeah.
Have you had any situations like that where you're like, you know what? I'll let you have it today.
No.
No? You're just always hard on everybody. No wins like that.
It's good. No, not like that. No. I mean, nah.
No, yeah. Well, and it's like you can use it as a tool too. Like yeah, you get to do that, but I want them unbroken. Like because now it's like now there is no excuse for you to not do them unbroken. And then I'm like driving it home throughout the rest of class. You should be able to do all 12 in a row. You're getting to take it from the rack. That makes it easier to do all 12 in a row versus having to clean it and everything. So it's like now, like, because I was thinking about, I'm like, what do I ultimately want? And I decided that that's what I wanted. I wanted you to not put down the bar. I wanted everyone to shoot below 10 minutes. And I'm like, okay, I can get everyone. And I don't think I had anyone go above 10 minutes in that workout. I think I might be remembering the times wrong, but whatever the standard was, I wanted everyone below it. And that was one way where I'm like, how can I keep the intensity high enough and make them go faster that way? But also I don't want them to go fast and get it and it's easy because they're going to re-rack it multiple times. Like there's a give and a take in there. And I thought that in this situation, it worked out very well. It's like, all right, I already gave you the thing. That was the one thing. That's all you got. You were happy about it, remember? Now I want this. I want you to be able to do all 12 in a row. And then I still had them practice. Warm-up weight 1, we did 12. Warm-up weight 2, we did 9. Warm-up weight 3, we did 6 reps. And it was always with the caveat. I'm like, all right, that was 9. You should feel like you had 3 more in the tank. All right, that was 6. You should 100% feel like you could have kept going and done 6 more at this workout weight. If not, change it right now. Because remember, I want it unbroken. You got the treat of being able to go off the rack. Now you have to continue to earn that treat. And it worked out well. Everyone finished in the times that I wanted. And then we also scaled correctly on the whatchamacallit. Another example on just making things fun was that bench press workout. It was 5 rounds, 5 minutes of work, 3 heavy bench presses, building up in weight across the workout, and a 400-meter run. And you wanted 2 scores. You wanted to have what was the round time, and then also what was the weight on the bench press. And I knew we don't have 12 benches to everyone to bench solo, so we're going to have to partner up. Well, that eats away at the time. So I had to decide for myself, what is the most important thing today? And the most important things that I thought on that day were, all right, we don't bench press often, so let's prioritize the weight more than what the times were on the rounds. So, and also let's have fun, because bench press day should have fun. So I told people, okay, let's say if you and I, Miguel, were partnered up, you could have the option of you do your 3 bench press, I do my 3 bench press, and then we go on and we run together, and we complete together. And I said, this is the more social, this is the social scaling, because I knew there were people in there like, all right, Abby, Maria, spot each other. Now you're both safe. You're both going up in weight, and then talk on the run like you want to. Have a good time, like, because it turned into more of a social workout where we were just going on these time parameters. But now I don't think on any of my classes I only had like 1 or 2 people that actually even cared about the time when they ran in. Instead, there was so much chatter, there was so much laughing, and like they were pushing hard on the bench press, which we don't do again that often. So I just thought, I'm like, I essentially changed the workout in that capacity. I'm like, let's just have fun today and make it a social day. And I don't know, that's just what felt right in that moment. What do you think about that? I'm just being like, hey, if you want to run and talk, do it. Let's do that today. And also with that, it made people do the 400-meter run when I said, I don't care how long it takes you, run together, do the full distance. You're going to finish in under 5 minutes. Make sure you have at least 1 minute to rest, and let's have a good time and go heavy. And so I had people do 400-meter runs every time. They were already coming to class thinking about how they were going to scale to 200 meters. So what do you think about this whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, it's like it's their class. Like as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, and you're able to finish within a reasonable time, like for the entire class, then yeah, by all means.
Yeah, essentially that's what it was that day. Hey, it's your class. It's bench press day. We know that's why you're here. That 400-meter run didn't bring anyone in here. I don't think. Everyone was excited to bench press, and also I need safety to be the number one thing. So now just telling everyone, hey, it's totally cool if you wait and spot your partner, because that way, because the other way around it too, and some people did do this. I bench press. I go off on the run. You're going to start the round at 2.5 minutes in, and I have to get back in time to spot you.
Yeah.
I did have some people do that, which that's another way to add intensity to it. I'm like, well, you better be running hard out there because I'm waiting for you to come back to start my round.
Yeah.
And it was hit or miss. There were, towards the end, people starting to get in later than the round because, of when they were starting. And if their partner started to slow down, they're going to bench press later than 2.5 minutes. Their run's going to bleed into the next round. So I had a mixed bag of things going on. But definitely by far the most popular option was just the kind of like, let's do it together kind of a thing and turn it into a partner workout. And then eventually I did start to spot people here and there. I had a group of 3 and they were going to like wait for each other. But I'm like, it's going to be so much waiting around. And since I didn't have that many groups of 3, now essentially this one guy is working out when everyone else is done or finishing up and socializing. And that kind of leaves him out. So I started spotting at that point. And I told each class, I'm like, look, I'm going to spot you. I'm going to hook it with my elbows. And you need to make sure that you're helping because I only have so like holding on to it with one, like I have one hand really to help you. So you need to make sure you're not being dumb on this too.
Yeah.
And then if I don't feel like I can help you, then you're going to have to wait or we'll get someone else to come on over. But so yeah, that was just I guess maybe overall to kind of sum everything up is as coaches, we got to be thinking outside the box all the time. How are we laying out the class for burpees over the bar? How are we adding more value to classes that have 1 person, 2 persons versus 12 persons? How can we have value in both classes? How can we get more out of our progressions and keep the stimulus alive on the main movement? And maybe that means we break things up into components to try to build the whole in the future. How do we help everybody versus their limitations? How can we also keep things fun and safe? And is it okay to change the workout from time to time and modify things? And the answer is yes and yes. So think outside the box, and it will make you a better coach, and it will also lead, I think, to better class experiences for everybody.
Yeah.
That's my closing thoughts. Miguel, what are your closing thoughts?
No, I mean essentially the same. Of finding value in whatever class may be, and that might be different from week to week. But yeah, adding value to each individual person in class and kind of making class for them.
Yeah. And there's so many ways, like we've talked about so many different things, on how to add value with all the progressions and everything. And then it's also like giving like a nugget for the movement, like we talked about yesterday. Like, okay, hey, when you're doing your push-ups today, I want you to imagine you're pushing through wet cement and leaving an imprint and whatnot. Like that's your one nugget for the day. And you can put that on your lesson plan. All right, we're doing box jumps today. Here's the one thing, and it may be a new thing or a cool thing or something that I want to give to them. And you can see how like everything that we've talked about leads to like one badass class on a great experience. And that's when you get the drop-in that comes in and they're like, whoa, I wish I could go to this gym, but I have to go back home a couple states away. But who knows? Maybe that inspires them to make a change, and they're like, I have to find a gym like this when I go back home. Maybe I'm certain that's happened from time to time. And also, unfortunately, though, we have had members leave the gym that weren't able to find a gym that was similar to ours, and they don't have a gym. That kind of stinks too.
Yeah.
That's a problem we can't solve. That's a greater issue, I guess, for CrossFit. But I was surprised by that. I'm like, there's how many gyms in your area? You can't find one that the community's not cool, and they don't teach classes the way that we do, and you don't feel like you're getting coaching and stuff. Boy, and actually, the only way I can think of to fix that problem is like, well, you got to do it now.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Miguel, you moved to I don't know, Indiana, and there's 5 CrossFit gyms, and they're all not up to par, and you're not happy with it. Well, maybe you got to coach classes there, and you got to change it, And if that's how far you want to take it, you have to join that coaching staff, retrain them, and then you can take classes you want to take, essentially. But that's the only way I can think of you to fix it. Cool. Miguel, where can people follow you?
Couldn't it be Miguel on Instagram?
Yep. Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow Albany CrossFit, Albany CrossFit Barbell Club. The Barbell Strikes Back. And we will talk to everybody again next week. We are 2 weeks out from the state championships. So, boy. Yeah, more coming up with that. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'll be back.